Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
How's that for a theme song? All right, I don't know if you guys could hear that or not, but I was getting pumped up. Ready for a big night of Rhone wines. Thank you guys for joining us. My name is Ian Blackburn, and I'm your host for Rhone Wars and Rhone Warriors. This is night 2 of our ongoing virtual festival. And we have had just an incredible response, and we want to thank everybody for joining us and participating and coming together. Some great people really celebrating this event, and a lot of our best and brightest here tonight. So we're really excited. Thank you guys. The winemakers are all here. We're excited to have you and to show off your wines and teach people about your brand. And Lisa, how are you in Santa Monica?
Perfect, thank you.
Got Alicia here in the office helping me. If you guys have any questions, need anything on the chat, she keeps it honest and real. And Pia in Pasadena, thank you for joining us again. Jason, where are you zooming in from?
Glendale.
All right.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Glad you could do it. Adam Smith, where are you zooming in from, buddy?
I'm up in El Dorado County, Northern California.
Awesome. Greg Gura, how are you, buddy?
Good. How are you, Ian?
Thank you. Good. How's our silent auction doing?
It's off to a great start. I'm looking right now. The most action we're seeing, everything is doing well. It seems like almost everything has bids, but we're seeing the most action on Tablis, Law, Ledge, and our first winery tonight, RD.
Awesome. Well, check out the link that Greg is going to put into the chat box for our auction. It will stay open until, what is that, Sunday at some point, Greg?
Sunday, 9 p.m.
Okay. So by Sunday, 9 p.m., you'll hope to be outbid so you can bid again. That's how we raise money for the charity. You bid early, bid on the cheap side. And if you don't get outbid, then you take home a winner for below retail. But if you get outbid,
you're still talking like we're having a in-person event. Take it home with you, but it will be mailed directly to you from the winery.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Did I say that? Yes. It was my brain went on autopilot, but the auction stuff, we really want you to get these prizes, and the charity gets 100% of it. So why not? You're going to buy some wine, make it a charitable donation to our Los Angeles Children's Hospital. We've focused our donations on the children's cancer research. And when it appears on your credit card, what does it say, Greg?
It says Unite the United Foundation or Stripe. So that's the processor that we run the credit card through.
Okay, cool. So,
and just one more thing. The auction's open to everybody, not just the people that come on tonight or Saturday night. If you know people that are into wine, if you know people that are into supporting great charities, please send them the link. It's open to everybody.
And there's more than just wine on it too. There's some really cool stuff, experiential and things like that.
Yeah, so there's some signed stuff, there's some Zoom stuff, give it all a look.
Cool. We're over 70 people on the Zoom tonight, and it's going to be an awesome audience. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We pivoted to Zoom, of course, like the rest of the world when the pandemic came down. We had just moved our space to a new classroom location. We were getting excited to launch our new classroom in the Arts District, and it's turned into a wine logistics headquarters. So we've got people here pouring for this event. It takes a huge army, and I want to thank them right now just for everything that they do and the stress that we go under, because we have a pretty short window to get this all pulled off. And I want to thank the wineries for getting the wine to us. And some of you may have got a couple of little extras from the wineries. We want to thank them for that. It may not have been enough to go around to everybody, but if we continue to move it around and we try our best to get it out. But it's a really fun concept. I'm really enjoying it, and I hope you guys do too. We've got a PowerPoint to take us through tonight. Each of the winemakers have about 8 minutes to express the origins of their place, their ideas, their philosophy, and as we taste through these wines. And that's something I'm gaining a lot more insight on in these Rhone guys and gals, because they definitely have a place that they're representing, a set of grape varieties that they're representing, and their own personal philosophies that they're putting onto the wines, and it creates a wide spectrum of styles, something for everybody. I will tell you that all the wines that we've had thus far in our group are spectacular, and yet many are very different from each other. And that's what I love about this. So hopefully you guys all find somebody that you can support. I will also put in a plug when you want to take a little trip, going to wine country, nice long drive. You might want to do it sooner than later because it's pretty quiet out there. And these wineries have really nice protocols to take good care of you in a safe way. So when you're comfortable, get in your car, visit one of these folks, and get out of the house. But thank you guys for being here tonight, and let's get started. Winery number 1, RD Winery up in Sonoma. It's going to be represented by Mr. Timothy Milos, head winemaker, and Connor Beckman, assistant winemaker. Who's going to be here tonight? Connor, I see your name. Are you representing?
Yep, I'm here.
Fantastic.
Glad to be here.
Spotlight you. Let me see. Tell us, where are you guys located, buddy?
So yeah, we're located in South Napa, kind of in the industrial park there. I'm the assistant winemaker at RD Winery. We're a relatively new winery. Our first vintage was 2019, so we're almost brand new. We have 2 different labels. The first, Fifth Moon, is about kind of off the beaten track vineyards and interesting varietals from around California. So under that, we do things like Gruner Veltliner from Enda Valley, Chenin Blanc from the foothills. We do a Malvasia Bianca, Cinsault, a really nice organic Lodi Zin, that sort of thing. And then the other brand, 100 Knot, which is the one we'll be tasting tonight, is kind of about really classic winemaking and some of the amazing vineyards that our head winemaker Tim has found throughout his career in Napa and Sonoma. So one of those sites that we're particularly fond of and really love is Rossi Ranch, which is the wine that we're going to be tasting tonight.
Cool, thank you. So tonight, here's our program. If you guys didn't already notice, on the tasting page that we sent out, there are some links. You have to download that page to get them to open up. But if you put it on, just drag it to your desktop, you can open it up and you can have this tasting mat. There's also the brochure that's on there, as well as that auction link. It'll take you straight there, but you do have to get it out of email and put it on your desktop or open up that page, and all those links will work. So this is our order tonight. So if you're a winemaker watching the Zoom, thank you for participating. We've got all the tasting kits. Connor, did you get a tasting kit for tonight? Are you able to taste with it?
Yeah, I have.
All right, awesome. Well, let's begin with your PowerPoint and RD Winery.
So yeah, we're like I said, we're Vietnamese owned and Vietnamese inspired. So both of the wines are based off parts of Vietnamese culture. Fifth Moon representing the summer solstice there, and 100 Knot, an old Vietnamese fable. Apart from doing that, we are also kind of operate as a co-op. So we have a brewery in-house, an Abbey Lager company. We do cider and provide space for 10 different small producers that also function out of Napa and Sonoma.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Custom crush type of place.
It's not really, it's somewhat custom crush, but it's more really hands-on. So we're not doing most of the work for people. They really operate it or act as their own entities.
Got it. Very cool.
So yeah, the vineyard that we're talking about tonight is Rossi Ranch. It was first planted in 1910 by Carlo Rossi. And when it was first planted, it was basically a mixed black vineyard. So it was a mix of Zinfandel and Petit Syrah, kind Carignan, Grenache, Alicante Boucher, pretty much whatever they could get their hands on, all interplanted. It was farmed by the Rossi family, Carlos's son Val Rossi, up until the mid 1990s, at which point, after his death, it kind of fell into disrepair. It was started to get replanted in the early 2000s, and Phil Couturi took over in 2013. If you don't know Phil Couturi, he's kind of one of the OG organic farmers of the North Coast. He's been doing this for quite a long time, and you always know when you walk into one of his vineyards, because there's just not a leaf out of place. You know, everything looks perfect. The birds are singing, the bees are humming, and his vineyards are idyllic whenever you walk into them. So he took over in 2013 and worked to get the vineyard CCOF certified, organic certified, and continued on with the replanting as well. And what's funny about this vineyard is that it was also one of Phil's first jobs in the wine industry. Back in 1977, when he was 25 years old, one of his first gigs was part of the vineyard crew here. And this vineyard is also where he met his wife on that same vineyard crew. So it has some history for him, and then has been a great vineyard for us. All the vines there are head trained, and we get Grenache, Mourvedre, Syrah, and then in 2021 we'll get some Zin from the whole vines as well. The Grenache is destemmed and then put on top of whole cluster Mourvedre. And you can see us foot stomping the Mourvedre there. And we do that because it's a really gentle process on the grapes. So we like some of the stemminess and tannins that we get from the whole cluster fermentation, but just a little bit, because you can overdo it very quickly. Everything goes into 1 ton fermenters, and the Syrah was 100% whole cluster and fermented separately. And we blend that in at the very end. So for winemaking, everything we do is really to try and respect this beautiful vineyard. But we did try something with this wine that we've never done before with anything else. There's a consultant in France in the Southern Rhone named Philippe Cambier. He consults a little bit here as well, and he does twice a day délaissages during the peak of fermentation on his Grenache-based blends. So we gave that a try. And what that basically means is that we pulled away all the juice twice a day into another vessel and then pump that back over the top. What that does is it adds a lot of oxygen to the ferment, helps soften the tannins, and just adds more complexity to the wine. It's also really good for yeast health. So it was a really interesting experiment. It was a lot of labor on our part, just because it took a lot of time, but I think it was worth it. The wine spent 33 days on skins and then was pressed off to French oak barrels. So we 20% new French oak. And we can go ahead and taste it now if you haven't yet.
Well, first I'd like to toast everyone that's on the Zoom with us and have everybody raise a glass. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy this presentation tonight. Learn a lot, ask a lot of questions. There's a chat box down there. I tend to see Friday night audiences being a little exhausted from the week, and we need to keep our energy up here. This is going to be fun. So bring out the energy, bring out the questions, and tell us what you think about these wines too. Connor, what are you smelling in yours? Because you're tasting what everybody else is tasting as well.
Yeah. So when I taste this wine, and especially during the fermentation, the thing that I always come back to is Chinese 5-spice. I get a lot of star anise, black pepper, cinnamon, a little bit of clove, as well as a lot of really bright, pretty red fruit. That's kind of the profile that pops to mind for me. It's a really fresh, light wine. You know, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but I think there's a lot packed in there as well.
Well, when I open these bottles, we put them in order tasting profile. I found this wine to be beautiful, delicate, elegant. It's young. It's a 2019. The fact that it's drinking this nice this early is really a testament to how gentle you were with this fruit and the process. And I think it's a really, really pretty style, elegant style. I show on our mat here that it has a wine retail $53 at the tasting room, And I know that you guys are a beautiful, very cool facility to go and visit, and I'm going to encourage people to go up and do that at your location, because you sound like you have a lot of very cool things happening. Can you actually drink beer on premise too?
Not yet. We're working on that. Hopefully, sometime soon you'll be able to drink beer and cider as well in our tasting room. So
back in the old days, I worked for a winery called Sequoia Grove, and they had Guinness on tap, and that's how they welcomed you, because they didn't make white wine. So they'd start you off with a Guinness, give you a tour, and then you drank their cab. That's a winner idea. So I hope you guys enjoy this wine. Any of our audience want to say anything about it? Have any comments, questions?
There's one there. Is it estate grown? So Rossi, it's from Rossi Ranch. So it's not our estate vineyard, but we do work with Phil Couturi, the viticulturist, quite closely.
Pia loves it. Josh and Jen, is it 100% Grenache?
It is 75% Grenache, 22% Mourvedre, and those two are co-fermented, and then 3% Syrah.
Excellent. And I love that story about the stem inclusion, because I think a lot of people have never, they may hear that, but to see it in action and understand that you're just using a small amount there, and that kind of gives you a little bit of that, I don't know, it's kind of a savory element in the wine, and the nose can come off like a little bit tea-like, or it depends on how much they use. And there are some wines that even go as far as getting a little stemmy, and that can take some time to dissipate or integrate, but really makes an interesting element to the wine.
Yeah, I think the stem tannin can be a really nice backbone, and the stem inclusion can add a really nice freshness and kind of spice to the wine. The one other benefit of that is those whole clusters slow down the fermentation a little bit, so you get a little bit of a longer ferment and a little bit more complexity there.
Yeah. Cool. Any other geeky questions out there? And if any of the other winemakers want to weigh in, stem inclusion might be a good theme to talk about tonight. On Wednesday night, we were talking about Mourvedre all night, because everybody was thinking that they were going to be different and putting a Mourvedre wine out, and like 4 of the 6 wines were based in Mourvedre on Wednesday. So tonight, maybe we can each go back and forth about the benefits, pluses, minuses of stem inclusion a little bit. There's other things that you get from stem inclusion, like potassium or something. Can you explain that just real quick in 10 seconds?
Yeah, so basically you pull out potassium from the stems, so that raises the pH of your wine. So it's just something you have to be aware of and keep your eye on. So the acidity, it will change how the acid profile comes across, and also the stability of the wine as that pH goes up.
And also changes the mouthfeel a little bit too, right?
Correct, yeah.
Cool. Well, beautiful wine. And I'll tell you right now too, the packaging, everything about it, and you guys really came to play with some nice toys. So thank you very much. And appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Pleasure to meet you, Connor. Good luck to you. And enjoy the rest of the tasting as we move into tasting wine number 2. And before we get there, I want to say hi to a few more peeps. Wendy, good to see you again. And David K, you and Maria. Is Maria eating, or just you, David?
It's me. Sorry. It's like dinner and a movie with us now with these wine Zooms.
Hey, I think it's the way it should be. I love it. I know Maria's a good cook. So.
Yeah, and I told Connor it's a great wine. It's really elegant, and it doesn't look like it's a brand new wine. I guess, is that the double pump overs? Does that have something to do with the softness and elegance of it?
Yeah, I think that the amount of oxygen that it sees really helps soften those rough edges and make it approachable younger. Because Grenache surprisingly can be a very tannic grape. if left to its own devices. So that really rounds it out early.
David, I got a question for you. Are you taping John Oliver right now?
No, I usually watch it. We recorded earlier today. So
Cool.
Whatever we did today, it'll be out on Sunday.
Well, if you notice, that golden voice of David is on John Oliver tonight, and check out the show and support David. No, I'm not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah, no, it's last week tonight, and it's on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. Continue on.
It was my attempt to give you a plug, but
Sorry.
sour. All right. Well, very, very cool. We're going to move on to Skinner, and I can't wait. Let's get to Adam Smith.
Hi.
Looking
Well, thanks for having me here. Yeah.
I can hear you. I just can't see you. Wait, where are you? Are you Pony Chops?
Yeah, that's me.
There you go. Okay, what's that name about?
It's funny story. A former assistant winemaker of mine years back, we were having everyone else in the winery had a nickname, and everyone had like some dorky nickname except for me. And so one day we were talking about all the weird things that we've eaten, and I had said that somebody had said that they had eaten horse before, and I was like, oh, I've never eaten a horse. And then I just went, does anybody eat ponies? And I was like, like they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, like a nice like plate of like braised pony chops. And everyone laughed so hard that it ended up becoming my nickname that harvest, and it just stuck. I became Pony Chops. I like the sound of it still.
All right. That's a good story. Well, how long have you been at Skinner?
I'm about 3 years now. I moved to Skinner from the Willamette Valley up in Oregon. So I did about 16 years doing Pinot and Chardonnay up there. Mostly working in the Willamette Valley. I did a little time in Burgundy, and a little bit of time in New Zealand, and I did like a bit of consulting on the Sonoma, like in the Sonoma region, kind of midway through my career. So I had kind of this like worldwide experience, but it was all with Pinot Noir, and a little bit with Syrah and lots of Chardonnay. And that was kind of it. I came on to Skinner in 2000, in early 2018. And I grew up in El Dorado County. So Skinner, being a Sierra Foothills based winery, was kind of this weird thing for me of like this, I felt this real pull towards my home, this place that I was raised. It was really important to me, and I'd spent all this time like honing my winemaking craft or whatever up in a place that I had nothing to do with other than I just loved Pinot Noir, and that was the only reason I was there. So coming to the Sierra Foothills was a real crazy decision on my part, and it was a very big move for me. So I came on to Skinner and been just kind of like digging into the region, I've always been obsessed with Rhone varietals as a wine drinker. And I've been making Syrah from the beginning, because all the wineries I worked at, we always made a little bit of Syrah from Walla Walla or the Rocks or Southern Oregon, these different kind of places up around in the Northwest. So I was kind of familiar with making Rhones, but I was mostly familiar with drinking them. So that was the extent of my experience, but the Skinners trusted me to take on their program. So we got the little slideshow going. I don't know where it starts actually.
God, I'm sorry, buddy. I was unmuted. Are the Skinners from Southern California?
Yeah, so Mike and Carrie they're originally from, Carrie's from Minnesota, and Mike is from San Jose, but they moved to the kind of West LA for like many years ago. They are in the insurance business, and Carrie was in real estate for a long time.
Yeah, I think they were originally before they got started with the wine. When did they take possession of the winery? When did they buy the winery or get it started?
They got going with it in 2006, but that was when they discovered that the winery was originally, founded by their ancestors in 1861. So it was kind of this big, really, really, really big realization where they were just like, wow, this is so cool. Like, how can we not do something with it? So in 2006, they bought the original, kind of the original property.
Homestead. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I believe they came to some of my wine classes early on in their development with the whole family. So I was really excited to see them sign up and be able to taste the wines with you. It's really cool. What are we looking at here?
So what you see right there is what we call Wing Ranch. That's one of the old historic properties that is actually where you see that red barn. Just on the eastern edge of that barn is is part of the original Skinner estate. That's a ranch we call Green Valley Ranch. And then the hillside where that shot was taken is called Wing Ranch. And they were actually neighbors, but the Skinners and the Wing family were really good, were tight. And they were doing cattle. It was cattle ranching and grape growing and who knows what else. It was a lot of stuff going on out there in the valley. Well, it's kind of a high elevation valley in El Dorado County. What you see in front of you is Wing Ranch. These are baby vines. They're actually probably going to produce their first fruit this year in 2021. We'll look forward to seeing that. And that hillside right there is planted to Grenache that is sourced from cuttings from the Alban Vineyard and from there's some Tablas Creek material right there. So it's mostly, that vineyard's mostly Grenache and Mourvedre. Yeah, and that's a little map of El Dorado County. El Dorado County is actually humongous. It kind of stretches from down the Sacramento Valley all the way up into Lake Tahoe. It's a really, really massive region. It is an AVA that is technically just called El Dorado. A lot of people call it El Dorado County. Some people call it Eldo, whatever. But it's a large part of the Sierra foothills appellation. And so we're a really different part of it because Sierra foothills encompasses Amador County, the Shenandoah Valley and all that, all the way down to Calaveras County, down south. And then over the lesser known regions like Placer County and Nevada County, and one I'm forgetting right now, Yuba County. And the Sierra foothills region is massive, massive, massive. And it really should be subdivided out into a whole bunch of stuff. But El Dorado, what is the major difference between El Dorado and anywhere else in the region is our elevation. A lot of the region is, the soils are made up of decomposed granite and varying versions of decomposed granite. It depends on how much volcanic material is in there, how much sand, how much clay, all that kind of stuff. There's a really good example. The rock that you see in my hand in that picture, out of, I don't remember what vineyard that is. I think that's Fanati, or Veer Camp. It's Veer Camp. Anyway, that's a good example of the soil. It's red because it has all this really iron-rich clay kind of laced into the soil that creates this really pink, powdery, very fine loam that we have. But the basis of the soil, there's very rocky soils that are like decomposed granite. So there's big hunks of granite like you see in my hand, but most of it's this kind of like chunky granular granite. And it's really, really fascinating place to grow. It's very well drained. It holds enough water in order to to support more vigorous varietals, but for the most part, it's like your classic low nutrient, well drained soil that you want for grape growing. And makes for very interesting wines, especially when it comes to Rhones that tend to enjoy, like they tend to really blossom in soils that are more that encourage more kind of tertiary aromatics and flavor profile, less like about fruit and more about these sort of like strange earthen complexities. Yeah, so that's what we're doing up there, up in the mountains. We're ranging, most of our vineyards are planted between 2,500 and 3,000 feet. Yeah, there's some pictures of fermentation. So I also employ pump over like religiously. You will very seldom finding me doing any punch downs at all on the winery, which is a really standard method of doing winemaking. But for me, many years ago, I started employing the remontage technique on Pinot Noir, and I found really good results. I do so much in the way of like these long fermentations and a lot of stem inclusion, as you'll see in the wine. And I don't like things to be over extracted at the same time. So for me, whatever I can do to keep the berries whole and to keep the aromatics like really boosted and blossoming, I want to make a wine that is like not necessarily like super lean. I'm not a big believer in like the lean mean reds. Like I like them to be unctuous and really sexy, and I'm okay with them being bold. But I want them to be very heady aromatically and really textural on the palate. So I employ that same technique that we just discussed of like of pumping over,
emptying the tank and putting it back on top, right?
Yes, exactly. And you can see it right there. It's and we're all native fermentation, so all spontaneous. There's nothing added, and there's nothing's inoculated, nothing. So the whole winery is totally spontaneous. It's all wild yeast. So again, that oxygen becomes a really big important thing for me. I want this really healthy fermentations going on. And as you can see, like in that picture, all that foam you see on top of the fermentation is an example of, I think, what looks like very healthy yeast activity.
And do you have to empty the tank, like literally empty it and before putting it back on top, or are you just taking it from the bottom and moving it back on top, like circular?
No, that's what's called délestage. I don't do délestage. It's remontage is more just sucking the juice from the bottom valve and pumping it over the top, which is also reincorporating some of the lees that have been generated and things like that. And it's very rapid. So we're looking at for about 15 minutes or so per tank, probably 2 to 3 times per day. Every single tank or bin or whatever gets this sort of recirculation of juice. And because of that, and because of all the stem inclusion, the stems really slow our fermentations down. And because we have a lot of whole berries, that also slows things down. Our fermentations tend to last about 3 weeks each. So it's a ton of work to get these things. We have to feed them through fermentation. Yeah, there's an example of like that's what the stuff looks like coming out when we dig out the tanks. It's nice whole berries and these sort of desiccated whole clusters that, after the fermentation process, that's what they look like. But what's wonderful is, however many berries are on that rachis that's in my hand there, every single one of those berries that's still intact has a little micro fermentation happening inside of it. And you multiply that, by like exponentially, by the thousands, you end up with something that is like very, very complex, because you have, instead of having one big like monolith of fermentation, you have thousands of teeny tiny little fermentations happening at once, creating sort of a greater sum. But I think it adds to the complexity. So you can see, we get very vibrant color, and we have, it's a big process. We're very gentle with everything. Everything's done by as much gravity as we can, aside from the actual pump overs themselves. We dig the tanks out by hand, load them in the press gently, press, they go to barrel. That's the end of it. We don't rack until we're blending, and then we bottle unfiltered. So
Cool. And this particular wine is how much Syrah?
So this wine was co-fermented with about 10% Viognier. So maybe a little bit less, but probably roughly 10%. I throw a small amount of whole cluster Viognier into pretty much, I don't know, I would say about 75% of my Syrah fermentations. There is something about the El Dorado terroir that is very, very rich in iron, and the wines tend to be this weird combination of like low in acid and but very high in this irony, bloody kind of aromatic and flavor, which is like brings some complexity to the wine. But to me, I want more fruit. I want more kind of floral lift to the wine. So yes, I employ a lot of stems, and I bring in a little bit of co-fermentation with Viognier in order to kind of lift the wine up above some of that, so you can get that bloody, like, irony tone that really comes from our soil, without the wine feeling like super closed down on. I think that soil characteristic that comes through in the wines is really compelling if you can kind of elevate the wine above it and let it be sort of a background note in the wines. And so that's one of the main reasons why I also love the combination of Viognier and Syrah together anyway. And I've taken to co-fermenting Viognier with lots of stuff now and just to experiment with it. And I think it does really, really magical things for the wines. But the main thing is it lifts the wine above having these kind of clunky, like sort of hard to crack open aromatics and flavor profiles, and makes the wine a bit more sensual and brings a little more lushness to the palate as well.
It's drinking great. It's really a dynamic, different place and style, and that's what you're going to see throughout the discussion tonight as we kind of go all over the place in California exclusively tonight, but we just make sure I said that right. Yes, but I think that even though we're in California, you're going to see very different signatures on each wine from each different place and each different personality. And we thank you, Pony Chops, for bringing it in number 2 there with your beautiful Skinner wine. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. And if you want to weigh in on anybody else and talk about anything else throughout the night, please do. You and Connor did a great job. Thank you so much. And let's open it up. Does anybody have any questions? We got a little bit of action in the chat box, but
I was just gonna say, Ian. I asked my question. I was wondering what the pH of the soil was up there. Is it pretty consistent across the area?
Yeah, the soils are actually quite. They're quite acidic up here. So it's sort of all over the place. It depends where you're at. If you're down in Fairplay, for instance, which is in the southern end of El Dorado County, you're going to see a lot more sand, not sand, but what looks like sand. I mean, it's much less granular and more like fluffy, like powdery soils, almost chalky in certain spots. The Skinner Estate vineyard, which is called Stony Creek down there in Fairplay, is more granular, but you get into these little bowls and you see this just pure sand or whatever. The acidity, it's non-existent. You get up further north, you get into regions like Pleasant Valley, which is kind of in the middle, and then you get up into Camino Fruit Ridge, Apple Hill area. That's where you have that kind of sort of famous Aiken clay loam up there, which is this like pink, very clay heavy soil that is like, you know, when I talk about that bloody characteristic in the wines, that area is notorious for that component being it sort of reminds me of it can remind me a little bit of like a true, like, you know, Barbera from from Piedmonte, like this sort of really like kind of irony, bloody animal fat kind of characteristics that are just like kind of just sharp and very present, and so you really have to manage that, because that's good to a point, but you know at some point you want your wines to also, you don't want your wines to just be like, I like an ugly wine just as a challenge, but in the end of the day, I want my wines to be pretty. So that region can be that way. And then you get over on the western edge of the El Dorado County, and you start dipping back into these kind of like these really bright white soils that have a ton of quartz in them. And so with all that quartz, you end up with really like just like, again, a major dropout in acid. And the soils are there's so much quartz in the soil that, I mean, there's literally like fool's gold in the dirt. So you can lay your hand in the soil and hold it up to the sun, and your whole palm will like sparkle. It's pretty amazing, actually. But it does make for wines that you really have to watch your pH level when you're looking at picking, and you need to watch your acidity levels as well. And so it kind of comes down to what kind of wine you want to make. If you want to make something balanced, you need to be willing to pick Syrah maybe a little earlier than you might have been comfortable with doing it in another region. That means I'm picking Syrah under 23 bricks. And like, this would be a good example of that. This wine probably came in at between like 22 and 23. And I get like a wine that still comes across as very ripe and very sexy and big at these very low brix levels, because we have phenolic ripeness and very low acids. And so it just comes down to really managing the structure of the wine in the end, and all over El Dorado.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And now we head into wine number 3. Hopefully everybody's relaxing.
Ian.
Yeah. More questions?
Really quick. Are the grapes crushed, or do you just take them from a whole cluster?
The grapes are partially destemmed, but I don't crush anything. I don't do any crushing at all. I love whole berry fermentation. And as far as stem inclusion, I will put whole bunches directly into the fermentations. It depends on the lot size, but I generally try and keep things at about 30 to 50% whole cluster across the board, with a couple of exceptions. There's only a couple of varietals that I don't do whole cluster with, but with Grenache, Mourvèdre, and Syrah, they're probably, you know, between 30 and 50%. This one in particular, I believe, blended out at closer to 50% whole cluster, but no crushing at all. I don't crush anything. I want that very heady, very lively, kind of perfumey element that you get from like kind of more of a carbonic fermentation.
Thank you.
There you go. All right, Mark, are you ready to rock and roll? Let's
I am prepared for battle.
All right, good job. Thank you, sir. How is Paso treating you today, Mark? Nice day up there?
Paso is good today. It's very warm in the afternoon and quite chilly at night here on the west side of Paso Robles. Yeah, so I mean, we were between 70 and 75, I think. Beautiful, sunny, and it dips down into the high 30s at night. So the diurnal shift is in effect even as it warms up.
Well, let's check in with a couple of our friends here and see how they're doing. We've got Jeff Abbott down in the South Bay joining us. Hey, buddy. Glad you could join us again. Thank you so much. The Scotts, thank you both for being on the Zoom. Rebecca Siemens, hello. How are you? Glad you got your wine order okay today.
Yes, all good. Everything arrived.
That's good. Second efforts sometimes are the best.
It just lucked out that I sent her a picture when it arrived and she was like,
Good. Yeah, you were smart to do that. Robert Harlan, thank you for joining us today. Where are you zooming in from, sir? Oh, I can't hear you. There you go. Just touch your space bar and you can chat with us real easy. Erica, do you have a lot of girlfriends on the Zoom tonight? Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to call them out? Emily Little by chance?
Yeah, Emily Little, of course, Pia, Clarissa,
Yes.
Andrea, and Jerry.
Wow, fantastic. Fun times. Thank you very much. Lauren, any of the San Diego posse on the Zoom tonight?
No, not tonight. I couldn't get them to buy in, but maybe next time.
Okay. We're getting ready to load our blind Bordeaux tasting up for April. You'll have to check that out. Some of your fancy collector guys. We're going to do 1989 versus 2009.
Nice.
There's a couple really stellar wines. Julie, how are things out there? You and your husband doing well? Cool. Thank you very much. Ragnar, everybody happy in the South Bay?
Yeah, we're doing great today. Great wines. Thank you. Awesome time.
Excellent. Kent, are you Ohio tonight? Or is that Florida? Florida or Ohio? Ohio. All right. Cool. Yana, how are you?
Great.
Where are you zooming in from tonight?
LA.
All
Very
right.
exotic destination.
Yeah, what part?
Miracle Mile.
Miracle Mile. All right. And Norman Aiello, you came to play tonight. How you guys got all the glassware? Look at that. Fantastic.
I know, that's impressive. I saw that earlier. I don't have them up right now, but
good job.
We're in Carlsbad.
We're in Carlsbad.
All right.
Look this way.
Thank you so much.
Carlsbad.
All right.
Well, I didn't know that. Apparently, there's a tasting room in Carlsbad.
Getting pretty close to you, Lauren. Nick Steverson, how are you?
Good. We are joining you from Venice on the west side.
All right. Cool. I saw Sharon and Brett tune in and tune out. I think they don't want to be on camera. Maybe not. Aaron Dolan, thank you guys for tuning in again. I know you guys were here last time as well. All right, I've got to say a lot of hellos, and there's some more we'll get to later. But Mark, let's taste some ledge from Paso.
Yes, prepared.
Tell us your story, buddy. How long have you been ledge?
We have been ledge since 2005. We planted our vineyard here, and it was 100% Estrella clone Syrah, which brings us to the wine that we're tasting tonight. And that's okay if you put the other slide up as you wish.
All right.
What you see up there at the top there that sort of looks like a liver or a horse head, that is block 11B at Bien Nacido. We are mostly here in the Willow Creek district of Paso Robles in San Luis Obispo County, but this is just on the edge of San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. The reason why we delved into the Bien Nacido vineyard was twofold. First, my wife is born and raised Santa Barbarian, and her family still lives down there. And we spent a decent amount of time down in Santa Barbara and wanted to do our best to expand the Ledge brand into Santa Barbara County. And one of the best ways we thought to do so would be to include Bien Nacido, which is one of the most famous and well-established, not only in California, but certainly in Santa Barbara County. In addition to that, Bien Nacido was the parent nursery to the James Berry Vineyard, Bone Rock Estrella clone Syrah. And in turn, that James Berry vineyard, which is there, that's the Bone Rock terraces at James Berry Vineyard. When I was the first employee there at Saxum in that 2004, 2005, I made a trade with Justin Smith that I would work in exchange for tutelage, and the family was kind enough to let me take cuttings off of this. So what we're looking at is Saxum Bone Rock, but it's also nursery stock from Bien Nacido. Adams Ranch, which was planted in 2005, was taken from these cuttings. So we've gone full circle. And what we're tasting is the grandparent to our estate.
Yeah. Cool.
Estrella clone. That's the long and short of it as far as how we started it. For those of you who may not be aware, the Estrella clone of Syrah comes from Gary Everly, who in 1975 planted the first Estrella, or the first Syrah clone, which was Chapoutier clone. He fell in love with it when he was getting his doctorate from UC Davis. The first known 100% Syrah in the United States was from Gary Everly. So that's where it gets the Estrella clone name. That's the reason why we got into it. For the most part, what we have here is 100% Syrah. Yeah, we only make 3 estate wines at the moment, and one is James Berry Vineyard. So it's a Grenache blend. The Adams Ranch is a Syrah blend, and the Bien Nacido is 100% Syrah. But the Syrah in those is the Estrella clone. That is the ledge from the Bone Rock Terraces. The green there that you see behind, interestingly enough, I think Anthony's next right there. The vineyard that you see in the middle is Denner Vineyard. The mountain range back there is the Santa Lucia mountain range, and the green flat part is the ledge. And what you can't see is that drops off at a pretty strict drop there on top. So you're looking at from James Berry to Denner to ledge, and then the Santa Lucias, and then the ocean is 10 miles as the bird flies south of there. A little bit more over. Nice bird. I like that. Can you have Godzilla coming over the Santa Lucias? That'd be awesome.
We could do that. We could do Godzilla. It takes a few minutes though.
So one of the other cool things about this part of we're in the Willow Creek, Paso Robles Willow Creek district. This is we're in Paso Robles now. This has nothing to do with Bien Nacido at this point, except for that we have that Estrella clone in common. Is that where ledge is we're sandy clay loam, heavy clay, sandstone, granite, and then as soon as you get to Denner, it changes, and Anthony can tell you more about the soil types there, but they do start getting into clay, calcareous, limestone as you get to the middle. The fun thing about Syrah that we've noticed just with these 3 cuvées is Syrah is, yeah, nice. I love it. Syrah is very, very sensitive to, like I think all grapes are, to terroir. We're in sand. Our Syrah tastes different than, James Berry Vineyard, which is in heavy limestone, and Bien Nacido is in clay, marine clay, chalk, and all 3 of the Syrahs taste quite a bit different. And it's just a testament to how we can take the same grape, the same clone, grow it in a different place, treat it differently as a winemaker or not, and taste the difference in the dirt and the elevation, et cetera, et cetera. So this is on the left here is the original well that Mom and Dad, which is kind of fun because the Estrella River Winery, we have, Mom and Dad bought this property in the 70s. And as you can see in the background, where would be Denner is nothing but, grain. James Berry is 2 hills behind that. There's no vineyards here. But we do have a bottle, I think it's 1977 Estrella River Winery. It wasn't, I wish it was Syrah, but it's a Cabernet Sauvignon that we still have sealed in our cellar. from when Mom and Dad bought this place in the early 70s. That's the original well that they're drilling there. It's around 200 feet or so in sandy clay loam, not a lot of rocks where that is right there. And then the other big picture there are the cuttings that I took from the bone rock terraces. I'm clipping them down and getting ready to plant them in the original block. And below that is my wife with my sensei, Justin Smith, at an early LA wine tasting in Malibu. My wife's getting a little handsy with the man there. I don't know what's happening. So just to give you an idea of how many cuttings I took, it was about 5,000 cuttings, between 4,000 and 5,000 cuttings that I took over a course of a couple rainy weeks, and wrapped them in wet newspaper and put them in the basement. And then early March, April, we clipped them down to size and put them in the dirt. Risky thing to do, and we have ripped out part of this block, partially because we want to plant other varietals, notably Senso, Counoise, Morved. We're looking to get into some other varietals that we hadn't originally planted, but also because we didn't have, while I was starting out at Saxum, I was there all the time, and I simply could not take care of the vineyard in the way that one needs to. A lot of people talk about coming out to Paso and starting a vineyard in their retirement, and we always advise against that. Unless you have a large fortune to turn into a small one, don't get in the wine business. Or you have the time to do it, or you have family or what have you. And for us, it was a combination. This is the original block that we planted. As you can see, there is no irrigation on the photo on the left. This is after a huge deluge, not unlike the one that we just had here. We got almost 11 inches in that big storm that just came through not too long ago. So we planted all of those cuttings that you saw on the previous slide into the dirt here, and we had a tape measure and some basic infrastructure, and got it about as close to the well as possible. And we didn't even hook this thing up to irrigation until a month or two later. Absolutely everything took. I did use rooting hormone. There were certain techniques that we found to be very beneficial. It was like a fish guts formula and a vitamin B12, some odd thing, basic rooting stuff that you can get at any nursery. Soak it overnight. And
I mean that these are own rooted vines?
These are, the entire vineyard in the beginning was own rooted. And as soon as we started expanding in 2006, we started planting some Grenache, and we were about 50-50 going on from this, but the original four acres was 100% own rooted Estrella clone Syrah taken from cuttings. And then when we started planting Grenache, we did about half and half certified rootstock and half own rooting. And now we're more 75% certified rootstock, 25 own rooted. As we get deeper into the game, we're willing to take less risks with own rooting, but we continue to do it. Mostly to fill in gaps that are taken by gophers or, what have you, farming trials in general. But right behind us, just can you go back one more time?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is an interesting point of interest because I know that my neighbors are coming up. So if you go straight down the middle of the road to the right of that, if you see a shiny roof at the bottom of the horizon, just left or toward the middle, whatever, there's the Denner Winery on one half of this view and the Jada Winery on the other half. So to give you an idea, if once you get to the end of the ledge, I could hit both of those wineries with a potato gun with very little issue. And we're that close to a different soil type. And those are both gorgeous vineyards making great wines.
How many times has that happened, Mark?
Well, I do know that Brian Denner really wanted to take a stab at it back in the day, and it has never happened. But I know
maybe
that
with a shotgun shell.
One more time.
Maybe with a shotgun shell.
Shotguns, that's going to dissipate. It's not going to get there. And anything more higher caliber than a shotgun, I'm not risking the law
Yeah, we dare you, Mark, over at Jada. Just be careful what comes back towards it, you know?
I got the wind on my side.
That's true.
Be careful what you piss this way.
Absolutely.
So that's me and the Boss Band. Originally, while I'm no longer on the Saxon payroll, I do help out every harvest. I do whatever I can to help that crew out. Definitely a disciple. That's in the beginning days when I was his assistant there. And on the right is classic lead winemaking with Estrella clone Syrah from the estate. And this is an important thing to mention because I 100% destem the Bien Nacido, but I really like to pigeage, foot stomp the Adams Ranch Syrah to bring out some of that acid that we were talking about earlier. We are in sandy clay loam, lots of sand. And I really love the stem tannins in the estate stuff. And while I'm able to get it riper, in the beginning, it was, oftentimes 14.5% alcohol. The 2018 Adams Ranch is, 15.5 plus. So as the vines mature, we're able to get more ripeness out of it. But I still really like the use of stem tannins. The Bien Nacido stuff has got a lot of bacon fat naturally in it. Forest floor, they're in this realm where they have citrus, avocado groves. It has a lot of earthiness and depth to it, black and blue fruit, purple fruit to it already. So far, I have not experimented with whole cluster fermentation with the Bien Nacido, but usually I stomp on it just like in that slide. Yeah, that's not a block 11B, but it's very close to it. You're looking towards the ocean there, and it is a Syrah block just near the block where we get the fruit. This was planted by Bob Lindquist, or brought in from Budwood that Bob Lindquist provided Coupe, 1997. And not long after that, that's when James Berry got their Estrella clone Syrah from Bien Nacido.
Well, fantastic. What are you tasting and smelling in your wine tonight and the samples we got to you? Are you able to taste that with us?
Yeah, you're asking me?
Yeah. I will be honest. We had such a successful night tonight. I already drank my teaspoon that I had left in the bottle.
Yeah.
So
a bunch of little shots, wine shots you gave us.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of the other winemakers or representatives of the wineries can attest to the militaristic packaging that these samples came in.
Hey, we got to be safe, man. Children proof. That's what
I appreciate it. Well, so I had a few appointments today, and I did decant. For I would say easily an hour. For this one, it is young. It's 18. A lot of these wines that we make, we're recommending a year or two. And if impatience is a factor, which it almost always is, then give it an hour decant. This is just I opened the samples just as the presentation started, and I'm only now getting the roundness of this wine. Earlier today, I get more of the the smoked pork fat, more of the forest floor, or rather the grove floor, more of the citrus stuff after it opens up a little bit. So I'd highly recommend giving it a good hour decant. But those are the notes that I get from the Bien Nacido that's different from past Robles. I'm tasting the ocean influence that's different than Cayucas. It's I get more of a rounder, earthier ocean from Santa Maria Valley than I do get from the past Robles that gets influence from the Templeton Gap. I have brighter, tighter, more saline notes from those wines and past Robles that get the influence from the Templeton Gap. I get more citrusy, citrus flower. Like if you guys have ever run through groves, my parents are both from San Diego County in the beginning, and we used to have orange fights and avocado groves, and I'll never forget the smell of broken down avocado leaves, and the citrus, the high notes in the air and the forest floor at your feet. That's what I get from this Pianecito Syrah. The combination of the acidity of orange blossoms and lemons, all of that bright high with plenty of deep low. We're just in love with it. We feel very fortunate to be able to make wine from this vineyard.
Awesome. Well, I just want to share with everybody. This is what the auction looks like. If you get onto that link, you can bid on each of the lots from the winemakers. Of course, we're also going to have an email go out at the end of this event. In fact, during this event, the email is supposed to hit your inbox, and it's going to give you an invitation to each of the wineries. I'm going to post it into the chat because some people have a hard time getting our emails. They go sometimes to spam or to filters, and we do send a lot of email, I know that. So but I'm just going to put it into the chat box and you guys can see it there. But do take a look at the different auction items. And Greg, how is the auction going right now?
The auction's going good. Looks like I said to you, everybody's enjoying the session. Just want to thank Nick. Nick was our last bidder. So he bid on, what did he bid on? The Nell Winery package. So check it out when you get a chance. Open all night. Like I said, we go till Sunday night at 9 p.m.
Cool. So right now we've got 3 bottles of Ledge with a Zoom tasting as well. So get on there and tick that up a notch if you can. And we want to thank Ledge and I want to thank you very much, Mark, for all your time. This is my second time getting to Zoom with you in the last few months, and it's always a pleasure to see your face and hear your amazing story. And I love
the pleasure is ours. And if that whoever wins that auction wants to come up to the house and see the vineyard, we can mix that up.
Nice.
Will there be a potato gun available?
That sounds like a pretty good activity. I think everyone's ready to shoot.
I love it.
And
I actually don't have a potato gun. I don't even, I've never even shot a potato gun.
I think that's something.
Is there such a thing as a potato gun?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
I think it's like a CO2 fueled PVC pipe or something like that.
Okay, cool. And
Anthony, you're a country boy. What's a potato gun?
I'm pretty sure it's WD-40 in a big thing of PVC, and then you light it on fire and launch a potato out of it.
Wow.
Awesome.
Hey,
what are you doing Sunday, Anthony? What are you doing Sunday?
I got to fly to Ohio, unfortunately.
Oh, man. Too bad.
Next Sunday, I'll come have chicken sandwiches at Low Madrone with you.
Well,
I'm into it.
Kent on our Zoom sitting in Ohio right now is saying you should come to Ohio. And I think Kent's in Des Moines or right outside of Des Moines, right, Kent? But here's that link. I'll put that into the box now. This is going to be our at the end of the night a little thank you. And if you click on that anytime, you'll already have it. There's an auction link in there, and then there's an invite from every winery. And if you want to share this with your friends, all the wineries don't mind selling some wine. And they'd love to see you, and please take advantage of their generous offers, etc. There's some, every winery presented a different opportunity to get involved. Some of them just join their mailing list and hang on for the ride. But it's a really incredible group of hardworking people that are doing this tonight with us. So without any further ado, we're going to go a potato gun away over to dinner and welcome our winemaker tonight, Anthony Yount.
Hopefully I'm not just the winemaker tonight, but the winemaker tomorrow as well.
Good point.
Thanks everyone for coming out. I've had a great time. I don't know if you guys have been watching Tyler Russell, but he has been working on some awesome hair twirls tonight. Tyler, how you doing?
Actually, we got a lot of feedback about your record collection there, Mark.
Mark's record collection is legit.
That vinyl wall is pretty impressive. Is that just wallpaper?
Magazines, it's not records.
Oh, well, you just blew everybody's mind.
I almost did the record background pose too. I'm glad I didn't.
Nice. Wow, it continues, rubbing it in.
You drew first blood, not me.
All right. Well, dinner. Let's do it, man. I'm so excited, Anthony. Thank you for bringing dinner to the show. And Dirt Worshipper is our wine 2018. I think
Thank you.
Dirt Worshipper was like the first Paso wine that I ever tasted.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it took you that long to find Paso.
It did. It took me a while. But I mean, in the world of wine, you know, I was working for big distributors in Los Angeles, and there wasn't really much Paso wine back in the 90s, and it's come a long way in a hurry.
It has, and this is a really fun wine. If you guys don't have it in your glass, why don't you guys go ahead and pour it? Because you know, it's Friday night at 8:15, and it's actually past my bedtime, which is why the lights are so low over here. But a little background on Denner. Ron Denner founded Denner Vineyards in 99, where the first vines were planted. He purchased the property that Mark showed, which was originally the Wiebe family's property in dry farm barley, safflower, and wheat.
Wow.
Rotated through. And Ron comes from one of those wealthy guys that wanted to lose a lot of money before he made any money in the wine business. And he owned the Ditch Witch dealerships in the Rockies. So he had an office in Salt Lake, an office in Boise, and an office in Denver. And our flagship wines are the Ditch Digger, which is our Grenache-based blend, and then this wine, the Dirt Worshipper, which is predominantly Syrah. And we call this the Dirt Worshipper because it is the only wine we make that is not 100% estate. So we went out and we looked for soil profiles that were different than the limestone and calcareous shale that we have here in Paso, and wanted to blend them all together to make this sort of mass of really cool soil types. So we go as far south as Lompoc to do Verita Vineyard, where we're working with pure beach sand. We come up to Slide Hill Vineyard across from Albin in Edna Valley, where we get a little bit of limestone and that alluvium sort of loam. And then we have 3 vineyards in Cambria that we work with, Bassetti Vineyard, Stola Vineyard, and Boulder Ridge. And those are shrink swell clay with heavy serpentine, which is a really challenging soil to work in. And then we backblend about 40% of our estate soil in the very, very high limestone at Denner. So Dirt Worshipper bringing all those soil profiles together to create this Syrah-based blend. It's 98 Syrah, 1 Viognier, and 1% Roussanne. Here we are at Denner. We're just going to turn you guys back and forth between Mark and I today. We're at Denner looking at James Berry Vineyard, as opposed to James Berry Vineyard looking at Denner on that slide. If you guys have any questions, just fire them off. I know we've been pontificating at you all night, so if there's anything you want to know, you want to hear Mark sing a song, come on, Mark.
Bring out the guitar, Mark. Bonicus, it's your time to shine.
All right. So here's the winery, very modern architecture, gravity flow facility. So there's been a lot of talk tonight about delestages. That's how we do most of our fermentation work at Denner, using gravity flow to move the wine. Great shot. Just below us is the Templeton Gap. So that's the east-west corridor that causes the diurnal temperature swing that Mark talked about earlier. It's really not unusual for us during the hot summer months to see a 50 to 60 degree temperature swing between daytime highs and nighttime cools. And I'm unfortunately number 2 on the phone calls for frost fans. So I get to wake up all the neighbors most of the spring and some of the fall whenever it drops below 35, which is quite often in April, a little bit in May, and October and November.
Bummer.
What year was the winery built? Winery was built in 2005. That was the year Mark built his first potato cannon. It is a wonderful tasting room. There we are at night. Thanks for that transition. We welcome everyone 7 days a week, 11 to 4 p.m. by appointment. Our tasting staff has been with us a long time, very educated, better presenters than I am, certainly less drunk than I am at 8:15 on a Friday night. And most of the time, I think they know more about the wines than I do. So if you guys do get a wild hair and want to come up to Paso, things are relatively safe. Our restaurants are open outside. We have a handful of fantastic new hotels you can come up and stay at. And Jada Vineyards next door is open. You can call Mark for potato gun lessons and Biennacido tastings. I'm not going to let that one go, Mark.
It works.
Here's my...
Anthony, quick question.
Yeah.
Why do you use 1% Viognier? What does that do for the wine? I'm just curious. Like, why
You know,
1%?
we
Or
originally
that
used to blend our Viognier and our Syrah together, and we liked the component. In 2010, I started co-fermenting the two together. Through a series of phenolic analysis with some outside labs, we found out that the co-fermentation with both Viognier and Syrah actually adds a textural component to the wine. It's what I like to consider the soul of the wine. And that's something that I really shoot for with the dirt worshipers. I want to capture all of the very spicy, savory elements aromatically, but I want the texture to be soft and approachable and give you somewhat of a suspenseful experience from aromatics to texture. And we do that by co-fermenting with white grapes. So here we have 1% Viognier and 1% Roussanne. The Viognier in this blend comes from the Duvarita Vineyard, which is in Lompoc, and then the Roussanne is all estate. I don't know how much I'm going to use until we finish the blend because it's all co-fermented. So anytime we pick Syrah, 1 to 2% of white grapes will be co-fermented with the Syrah, whether it's estate or purchased fruit. And then we finalize the blend about 6 months after harvest, and it is what it is. So the blend changes from year to year. It could be as much as 5% white grapes and as little as 1%. Any other questions on the wine?
Great, thank you. Love this.
Hey, Anthony.
It's a great wine.
Yep.
Anthony, a quick first question before number two. Any relation to the famous Yaunt of Yountville way back anywhere?
You know, my family of Younts came from Great Britain to Pennsylvania, settled in Ohio. I grew up in the wine capital of the world, St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, that's right. Well, near Missouri, it was the first.
Yeah, first AVA was Augusta. The only relation I can figure out to George Yount is that he drank and gambled away most of his land holdings, and I could very much see myself going down that path.
And the number two is between. It's interesting between Ledge and you. Ledge, I got more of a feminine roundness, and you, I really got that pepper, that masculine grip of the great dark fruits. It's in that to me is so. There's a difference. That's the soil. That's where you guys are because you're right next to each other.
You just handed Anthony a potato gun with that comment, I think.
Well, you know, it's very funny. Both Mark and I's wines are non-estate for the most part. So we're both working with a little bit of Santa Barbara County fruit. Mark was Biennacido Vineyard, which has a little bit of limestone, but is clay more, right, Mark?
Yeah, correct. Sandy clay loam, marine, chalky, but yeah, no, you're right on it.
So the Biennacido is Santa Barbara, cool climate, very close to the ocean, and very much gives a feminine profile to it. We're working with some Santa Barbara County fruit, some San Luis Obispo County fruit, and some Paso proper fruit on this blend. So it's hard to compare what we're doing side by side, but what I've always found when I do compare our estate wines, the Ledge Vineyard or the Adams Ranch Vineyard across the street, and then the Denner Estate on Willow Creek, is that the sandier soil type that Mark has produces very much a more elegant style wine. It's more aromatic, and it's a little lighter from a tannin standpoint. And then as you come across the street and you get into the heavier limestone and calcareous shale, you get a little more power. You get higher acidity, you get higher sugar content, you get more tannin. Sometimes those tannins can be hard to manage in limestone, and we find that a lot more in the Bordeaux varieties than we do in the Rhone. But that's the major difference. And I mean, we've been joking about the potato gun, but you really can throw a rock from Mark's vineyard to the Denner vineyard if you've got a halfway decent arm, and it's not that far. Mark sees 50% more rain in an 800 feet, maybe.
Well, yeah. So this is a crazy question for you because I don't know what you got, but we got 10 3/4 inches in that last storm.
Well, the last storm was crazy. I think it was like everyone got 10 3/4. I got 10 3/4 in York Mountain. We got 10.19 at Denner.
Yeah.
Tablas got 14.
Yeah, I know, and that's an interesting pocket over there because that's the other like kind of Templeton Gap area where there's that other channel that comes through there, and systems sit there.
Yeah.
And we used to joke that that Gargamel lived up on the ledge because the cloud would just sit there
yeah,
and rain up there, but you could see the sunlight over Denner and James Prairie Vineyard. But anyway, yeah, in normal years, there is a difference of a couple inches sometimes.
Absolutely. So that's a major difference we see, and Mark and I are in the same AVA. It's not like there's even a designated change between ledge and Denner. So, and tons of variability within the soil profile at the Denner Vineyard alone. We're 156 acres with 112 planted around the property. And, the front side on Vineyard Drive is very heavy clay. And as you get further back, you find more of that calcareous shale all the way up to very, very high lime. So that's what really makes Paso so dynamic. There's a lot of soils, there's a lot of weather systems, there's a lot of diurnal swing, and there's a lot of variability. So it's a hard region to pin down, but there's sort of a theme of vibrancy, freshness, and what I like to call the high yummy factor, which is the technical term of Paso.
Yeah, great wines, just savory. I can't wait to try them. And they're not, got some age on them, but yeah, fantastic stuff, all of it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Cool. I think I still have the PowerPoint up there. Sorry, I should have opened that up for that conversation, but nice visual there.
I actually do some cellar work still. That's me.
That's the tough stuff. That's usually where they put me too, with the water.
Uh-huh.
And there's the label of the wine that we're trying tonight, which is beautiful, by the way.
Really nice, Anthony.
Thanks, MCA.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, we are set up nicely to move into wine number 5. Thank you. Awesome job, Anthony. And we appreciate it. I want to go to wine number 5 with Nell and Nell Winery. Tyler, can you refresh my memory? Didn't you win our Rhone Wars last year?
I did.
Fantastic. Good to have you. So each year we used to do this tasting called Rhone Wars, and all the Rhone producers would get in the room, and we'd hand everybody a poker chip, and then you got to give your poker chip to your favorite winery. And we had quite an event in January last year, before pre-COVID, pre-pandemic. It was probably one of our last unadulterated events, because our Napa Valley Vintners tasting was in March, like on the 12th, and almost got shut down. And it was kind of a wicked night. But we want to thank you for being here tonight. And I don't know if you have a potato gun story that you want to share with these guys, but
I don't have a story with them, but I have actually shot a potato gun in my life. And it wasn't WD-40, it was hairspray was the fuel for this particular potato gun. And there was like a lighter, like flint system, and you flicked it and it ignited the hairspray, and yeah, these potatoes they'd go. So
very cool.
Yeah. So
more about this. Very nice.
I would never aim it at any of my friends or their wineries, just for the record.
Excellent.
You might not want to, commit to that statement you just said, because it could be quite fun.
Life is short.
I'm coming over. Bring some PVC. We're doing it.
Hey, we know who your neighbors are, Tyler.
I said friends. I didn't say
neighbors. Friends, not neighbors.
Good distinction. So wine number 5, Nell, 100% Syrah. Let's get it going on.
Yeah.
I got your PowerPoint ready to go here.
I'm not gonna shout out random people first.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah, just shout out some random people first.
Okay, let me shout out some random people.
Yeah.
Bring that up. Compared to Wednesday night, we're like way ahead of schedule. We're late, but we're way ahead of schedule compared to Wednesday. And I want to thank everybody again. Josh and Jen, are you guys doing okay? Awesome.
We're good.
Yes, great. Love it.
Awesome. Now, I want to know what chat is going on between Erica and her girlfriends, because they are rolling. Are you guys watching her? She is like laughing the whole time.
Trust me, you don't want to know.
That's cool. That's cool.
Gentlemen, just keep talking. Love it.
Just keep feeding the fire. Keep feeding the fire.
Just keep going. Just keep going, gentlemen.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. It's all you, Tyler.
All right. Well, thank you again for everybody for taking the time on your Friday evening. Not that there's much to do otherwise, but here we are. Really enjoyed. Just want to take a second too to say how much I've enjoyed all the wines so far. They've all had so much distinction, and it's just exciting to try wines in this format. We often, as people in the industry, get to try a lot of random wines at times, but it's more social and a little bit chaotic sometimes, but in a more organized fashion like this. It's been really fun, and good job to all the winemakers on the panel.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a little bit about this particular wine and about us. We're based in Paso Robles. We source from Paso Robles, but like Mark and Anthony, we also source from Santa Barbara County, but we also source from Monterey County. We kind of have this like central location advantage, being centrally located in Paso Robles, and really there's amazing world-class grapes to pull from there, obviously, but being an hour away from other places that have world-class grapes has been a really, really great thing to explore and thing to challenge ourselves. And so going down to Santa Barbara County, getting fruit from down there, but in this case, in the Coast View, this wine is actually sourced from Monterey County to the north of Paso Robles, about an hour and 20 minutes north in the Gavilan Mountain Range. There's a picture of it right there. It's a very unique vineyard. The way it's planted is not necessarily meticulous. It's got weird terraces that go around curves and just kind of takes the topography of the land in a really cool way. This is planted mostly of Syrah, some Grenache. There's Cabernet, a little Viognier out there. There's some Pinot out there. It's a really unique zone as far as the Central Coast is concerned, because like Paso Robles is very close to the ocean, but you get a little more higher elevation in the Gavilan Mountains. And so we sit right around 2,000 feet at the Coast View Vineyard. And yeah, that's that. What's the next slide say? Oh, the side. Oh man,
it says a lot.
Damn, Amber. All right, well, I guess Amber did that. She did a good job.
They're beautiful though. Beautiful sides.
Yeah. So, but something that we really like about this vineyard is that because of its coastal influence, but also its elevation and the heat it comes with that. We can get things really ripe there, but the colder temperatures really help us keep the acidity in line. So we're picking grapes from a sugar content perspective pretty high, but the pH and the acid are always just right on, even though the sugar, if it was in Paso Robles, it probably would have had, something that would have like a 4 pH there has like a 3.5 pH. And then with that, another great thing about that side is it really lends to extended hang time, even though because it retains the acid so well that we can leave the fruit out on the vine quite a while. And so we get a lot of lignification in the stems. And so we were able to use a lot of whole cluster from this side. Whole cluster's been brought up a lot. This is something that we do quite a bit of, but it's not anything that we do dogmatically. We do it based on whether we can or not, based on the condition of the stems. It's everything we do is a case-by-case basis. And so in some years there's more than others. Some years there's none from certain sites. Some years there's 100%. It just depends on how those stems look. I prefer a stem to be a little bit more woody, so to speak, rather than green and pliable. So, yeah. What's the next slide? So this is an idea of where Coast View is in relation to the Monterey Bay. The vineyard is actually called Coast View because you can actually see the Monterey Bay on a clear day, and you can just see how that Salinas Valley is, and it's just that ocean marine air, the same ocean air and fog that finds its way through the San Lucia Highlands, which makes it so renowned. That same marine effect goes to the base of the Gavilan Mountains too, and just through canyons and whatnot finds its way up through Coast View, and is what cools it down so much at night. So, yeah. As far as the winemaking goes, we do multiple picks from this vineyard. So we do some, we pick a little early to maybe get a little bit more acidity, and we'll pick some a little bit later to get maybe a little bit more ripeness from it. We get 2 separate blocks of Coast View Syrah, and then everything's fermented open top. So we've kind of gone to fermenting everything cold. We take almost all the barrels out of our barrel room, all the empty barrels that we're going to fill, go into the other room, our warm room, and the barrel room becomes our fermentation room for harvest. And so we've done that. It's extended fermentations really long. I think a lot of people mentioned that too, about how much, the longer fermentations, the development of the aromatics and some of the more finesse characteristics come out in that process. So, and the other thing people have talked about is delistage, pump over, what have you. We kind of also, just like with whole cluster, we don't really have any formula or dogmatic approach. We basically try to do whatever is the best need for that particular fermentation. And so it's just, you open the top up, the tarp or whatever, your sheet or whatever you're covering it with, give it a smell, see what the temperature feels like, you just kind of see where it's at, and then make a decision from there. But we're open to we do quite a bit of delistages. In fact, we've been doing delistages where we actually keep the juice off the skins overnight and then put it back in the morning. We're finding to get some really cool extraction techniques through that because of the weight of the cap on itself. And then when you put the juice back on top, rather than it being underneath the cap from the CO2, it actually rests on top of the cap for quite a while before it actually gets mixed in. So we've been playing around with stuff like that with Syrah specifically. And again, a mixture of whole cluster and whole berry. That's based on.
Is there a name for that, Tyler? Is there got to be a fancy name?
It's just one of those things that I was laying in bed and I was like, I'm gonna try that, and I liked it. I'm sure that there's a name for it. I'm not the first person to do it, I'm sure, but it's just something that we've been playing with.
You should patent it right now. The Tyler Russell. You should patent it, like the Tyler Russell, like dry top or something like that.
I've learned a long time ago, there's no original ideas in this business.
That's true.
So what were you saying, Mark?
I was just giving you props for it. That's a really cool idea. And and while there may not be any new ideas, I think you should call it the Tyler Stage.
Tyler Stage? Okay. Well, I'm going to tell people you call it that, and that'll make it give them more street cred. Because if I
but it makes sense from a physics, chemistry standpoint. It's a great idea.
No, thanks.
And one of the things that I love about Paso, I think, and I hope that I'm not alone in this sentiment, but I don't know a whole lot of people that will say, "Oh, that's a cellar secret," or "I'm keeping this to myself because this is the answer." Because you're right. People have been doing this for thousands of years, and people have probably, done the delistage without returning it until, the next day, or probably even longer. But I just wanted to tell you that's a super cool, idea, and I dig it.
I appreciate that. It's like, to your point about there's no cellar secrets, and that being kind of a calling card for our area. I've always said that Paso Robles is always like a camaraderie over competition place. Like there's no reason to keep secrets. First of all, that is only one of the many variables that makes this wine what it is. And so just because you might try a technique that I feel is proprietary, if we're not getting the same fruit or picking on the same day or using the same barrels or the same sulfur timing and ML practices. There's so many other variables that make a wine unique that there's room to share those things because it's not worth holding. I once tasted, name drop alert, once tasted with Manfred Krenkel, and the first thing he said when we sat down was, "I'll tell you everything you want to know because you can't get my fruit." And that was just his way of saying, like, you can't replicate these wines, even if you do everything the same way I do, because you can't get my grapes. And that's just such an important variable. And so hearing that is inspiring to be more open about what you're doing and how you're doing it. But so what's that? No. Totally.
I was just agreeing. I'm going back to mute now.
Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, so then again, intuitive extraction methods, that's what I call that. And then 50% new oak, all 350 liter barrels. We age it for about 22 months or so. And yeah, then we bottle unfiltered, unfined. Stays on the lees. We don't rack anything, mostly because we're lazy. We are open to adding yeast to things because I want things to not go wrong, but we allow every fermentation to initiate on its own. If it takes too long, we'll intervene, but the more we are in our cellar, the less we have to do that. So our winery is fairly new. In the first couple of years, we had to intervene a lot more than we like to. But we do everything. ML is always spontaneous. I've never added ML bacteria to a wine. And then that also comes with delayed sulfur additions. So we don't sulfur anything until like July, typically for Syrah specifically. And what I think that does and why I like to do that is it allows oxygen to play more of a role early, and it involves a lot more of the more harsh and intensities earlier. And so then the wine, I think, develops a little better texture and a little bit more presentability out the gate, but you don't lose the integrity of the wine as long as you're keeping things topped up and healthy and in the right temperature. So yeah, what's the next slide? Is there a next slide?
See.
Oh, the wine. Oh, there's tasting notes, I guess.
She's making you read.
Well, now that if Ian asked me what am I tasting there, I at least have a reference to what I'm supposed to say.
There you go.
So that's what
What, are you tasting with us? Did you taste it tonight?
I am tasting, although I tasted a lot last night. I'm tasting slowly tonight. Those that know in Paso, Jeremy Dicker was in town last night. A little hard. Yeah, just good dark fruit. Got a little bramble in there. Get a little bit of pepper from the stems. For me, this wine's more about its texture and its savoriness than it is anything. There's a little bit about us. If you want to take the time to read that, you can. We're based in Paso Robles. If any of you ever come to Paso, we'd love to host you. We try to have a good time the best we can. We really try to embrace this sense of community that is Paso Robles, and we believe that there's a certain standard of hospitality set here, and we try to live up to that as best we can. So we'd love to have you.
No, it's all right. I'm trying to get some feedback from Alicia on the chat box because
a few people are asking for the tasting note, and then how do you buy it? It's not on the site, your website.
We haven't released it yet. I love that you're looking. That's awesome. We're releasing this wine actually at the end of March. If you were to just go to the contact link and say you want some, we'll make it happen for sure. But yeah, this wine technically gets released in March. And yeah, if you have any other questions, my email is just tyler@nellwinery.com. And if you wanted to reach out directly to me and had any questions about this wine or any other ones, whether it's just general questions or how to get a hold of some, I'd be happy to personally help you out with that. Yeah.
Cool. I got a question for you, Tyler.
Sure.
Tell me about the artist on the wall behind you.
Those are friends of mine. They're based in Phoenix. They're called the Fortoul Brothers. It's two brothers. Thanks, Josh. And Fortoul Brothers from Arizona, and they just do this indigenous art that I've just always been a big fan of, and they've become friends over the years. In fact, I might have another label in the works that I'm gonna collaborate with them on the art.
Nice.
It's actually my favorite way to design label art is through artists, visual artists. No offense to graphic designers, it's a beautiful craft and I admire it. But sometimes I just prefer to take art that speaks to me. I have another brand that I recently launched that a friend of actually mine and Mark's did the label art for, and it's just fun to collaborate with people that you're friends with and people that are artists, and also support them in that process.
What is the name of the brand?
Lady Amherst is what it's called. And right now we did a Old Vine Chenin Blanc and a Grenache Rosé.
And if you were to pick a song for me to play tonight, what band would you ask me to play?
Me?
Yeah.
Let's go with Granddaddy.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I missed the question.
What? Give me a song from that wall of if I were going to play something tonight. Who would you want me to play? Like one artist.
Get Up with a Downstroke, Funkadelic.
Nice. And Connor, you got a song for me, buddy? Any band?
I've been listening to a lot of Pony Bradshaw, so maybe Sawtooth Jericho.
Nice. And let's see, who am I missing? I got to ask Adam. Are you still there, buddy? But very good, very good. I forgot to ask that question in the last couple of segments, and I just thought about it because of Mark's wall of music there. And,
awesome wine, Tyler. Really, really great.
Thank you, Mark. Likewise, I always love your wines.
We've been asked to confirm your email address, Tyler.
Yeah, so it's Tyler, Tyler, at Nelle winery.com.
Don't open anything with any attachments.
I'm a gambling man. I'll run the risk.
All right. Very good. Let's go talk with Josh Harp.
Yeah, Josh.
Jada.
Paso's strong on the end of this tasting, huh?
Yeah, Paso's bringing it.
I know this is an amazing act to follow, guys. So I appreciate it. You're laying all the groundwork for me, especially on the West Side Vineyard Drive area there. So thanks for that.
Pressure's on.
I just want to say, much to what Tyler was saying, it's often we find ourselves being very self-critical as winemakers and tasting other wines a little too critically and not enjoying them as much as they deserve. So at least I find myself doing that. So this has been really cool. I know I did a similar tasting with Ian on Wednesday, and it's just amazing tasting all these different wineries and learning about what they're doing and how they're making their wine. So I just want to start with saying that this has been an amazing experience. So thanks for everyone who's shown up today and is here to hear our presentations.
Are you going to do any Tyler Delestage later?
Say that again?
Are you going to hit Tyler's idea with the Tyler? What did you call it, Mark? Tyler.
Tyler Dodge, but that was just a one-off. Ian, come on, don't bust my balls.
It worked. Come on, I liked it.
So I'm embarrassed to say I was in my head when all of that was going down, and I missed it all. So I was gonna have to reach out to Tyler and be like, please tell me the secret. I missed the recipe. So you'll have to give me the cliff notes, Tyler, real quick.
There are no cliff notes, son. You missed the presentation. You're done.
I'm out.
Lose, you lose, man. Yeah. You have to come over. I'll show you. You know where I'm at. You can find me.
I will. I'll be
it's on Facebook too, so you're good.
He's got a Facebook. Is that what it is? Yeah. I'll track you down one way or another. I think I just heard your email, so we're good. Anyways, so yeah, I'm Joshua Harp, winemaker here at Jada Vineyard and Winery. I have been here since 2015. I worked under the former winemaker David Gazignato for 2 years, and then transitioned to winemaker through 17 into 18 there. So I wanted to start off with this picture. This is from the top of our vineyard. I guess so. Let's see that my box is in the way. Through the trees on the right side of that tree line there, yeah, kind of to the right of the A, I think would be where Mark's property is.
Potato gun that direction.
Yep, exactly right. Perfect. Good shot. So it's again another good example of how you can really see everything from the top of these hills. The shapes of these hills give us different soils, little microclimates. So growing fruit in the ground over here is something you have to learn over a long period of time. But yeah,
that was him firing back, by the way.
Oh, okay. I was trying to see what that was. Okay, perfect. Almost, Mark. Almost. Not quite. In that tree line below the Willow Creek is our tasting room. You'll see that in another picture in the future. And then like to our left is Prue Winery, and then just past Prue, I can actually see Denner Vineyards, a portion of their vineyard from this location here as well. So it's a really good place for people watching and creeping on what everyone else is doing is kind of great for that. I often see like a white truck at the top of Mark's property, and I'm like, what are they doing up there? Should I be doing something that he's doing? I don't know. So I always have to, you got to gauge. There's no new ideas. We all know that. Like we just discussed that. So if you can steal that, you might as well. All right, so the important stuff, the wine. We are enjoying our 2017 Jersey Girl. I'll explain the names a little bit more in the next slide. For now, you'll just have to enjoy the name. This is it's a blend of Syrah, Viognier, and Graciano. We do a lot of co-fermentations at Jada. We're always planning from the vineyard first what we're going to do. But the core of this blend is our Syrah Viognier co-fermentation that we do. We have three clones of Syrah on the property, the Estrella clone, which we've heard a lot about in the previous presentations, and then 174 and 383 clones on the property as well. The Estrella clone, I agree with David K, by the way. I was just reading that. The Estrella clone on our property comes in sometimes 2 weeks earlier than the other two clones, which makes it a great co-fermenter for the Viognier. So it allows us to not have to harvest our Viognier too ripe, and the Syrah is still ripe enough to make that happen. So that's the core of this blend. We also tend to do a little bit of Graciano, so we'll do an early pick of Graciano if we can to co-ferment along with the Syrah and Viognier. Often it's like 20%, sometimes 25% Viognier in our co-fermentation. And then we're usually blending back either Graciano or Syrah to bring that percentage a little bit down in the blend. So this was a little bit higher year in this one. And then some of the techniques we use to co-ferment, depending on the vintage, is usually we'll put the Viognier on the bottom of the tank, and then we'll add on top of that. If we do any co-ferment, or if we do any whole cluster, which we do some years, 2017 was completely destemmed, but we'll usually layer the whole cluster in the middle, and then we'll throw crushed Syrah on top. So we'll run it through a crusher and to gently crush the fruit after our final berry sorting table. The Graciano is an interesting grape. This is a lot of the other winemakers on here are familiar with the Graciano that we have on our property. It's it was known when it was planted as the 571 Monastrell clone of Mourvèdre, and that was found to be not the case. It was actually Graciano. And so it was a happy discovery for us because we'd been using it in all of our blends for many years. And I actually prefer it for what we're going for in this blend. I've just fallen in love with it. It's one of the few grapes that I've ever found when I'm walking through the vineyard, I can smell the pepperiness coming off of the fruit. And it doesn't happen all the time. It's like it's a certain period of the ripening process and the right wind. I don't know what it is, but you can definitely stick your nose in these clusters and smell this perfect black pepper characteristic. And that definitely.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Because I don't think people realize, how did you go from, thinking that you had one particular grape variety to having Graciano and that whole story? Because I think you didn't really pick Graciano. It was supposed to be something else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it was planted right next to another clone. I think we had the 369 clone. Someone will correct me on that one. Mourvèdre on the property too, which we later ended up grafting over to something else. But yeah, no, we had two clones on the property and ended up having one of them being Graciano. Mark, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I think it was Justin who really kind of made the push to figure out what that really was, because I think a lot of people were realizing it had characteristics that just weren't similar enough to the Mourvèdre that we were seeing across the board. So I think I don't know. I think it was genetically.
This was the nursery thing, right? Like the nursery was selling it as something, and it wasn't.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it came from one specific nursery. That was
too far in the weeds on this, but it also had to do with our friends from France coming over and looking at the grape and not recognizing it as anything that looked like Mourvèdre, because from a cluster standpoint, they're quite different.
Yeah.
And from a flavor profile, I mean, Graciano is much more successful. Mourvèdre is very difficult to grow. Graciano thrives here. A lot of different factors. As far as the in and outs of that, I'm not going to speak to it because it's not my place to do so. But everyone's sort of on the right track.
Yeah. So this isn't. You're not alone. I mean, this has happened to many wineries throughout the history of California winemaking. You're thinking that you're growing one thing and you bought it, you paid for it, you're supposed to be that thing, and then all of a sudden it grows up to be it's much like your children at home that not supposed to be that way, but
you thought it was your child, and next thing you know it looks more like the milkman.
It's not what I wanted. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's actually perfect. I mean, it's funny we definitely find we come in thinking that we can control everything, and we find that the happy accidents are kind of the best thing that can happen in winemaking. So we learn a lot from the accidents in winemaking. So there's cool. Something to be said there. As Mark was saying, Graciano is definitely very different grape. It's a fairly large cluster, but very small berries, very loose clusters, and so they ripen very evenly. Very good color, and then on our property, I'm not sure if this is the case for all Graciano in the area, but very low tannin despite the high color. So if we ferment it on its own, which we do, we can do well over 40 days on the skins, and it's extremely palatable. There's hardly any tannin. So when you co-ferment it and you add that tannin from a different variety like Syrah, that color can get locked up with the tannin that's being provided, and create a really nice round result on that. So. And then you'll see, so what was I gonna say? In some years we'll do a mixture. Again, we destemmed everything in 2017, but we'll do a mixture of whole cluster, and sometimes we'll even do whole berry, so we won't run it through the crusher, and then we'll save the stems and actually just throw the whole stems into the fermentation as well. And we'll layer those somewhere in the middle or on the bottom or over the top of the Viognier. If we do a co-fermentation, but we've tried a little bit of everything over the years. And then we do a mixture of usually a lot of pump overs early on, and we'll switch to some punch downs later in the fermentation. We have tanks that have large lids, so we can close it towards the end of the fermentation, and often we'll just, to finish before pressing, we'll just let it sit on the skin for several days without doing anything. So if we think we're extracting tannin too quickly, we'll that's one of the techniques we'll use depending on the fermentation. Cool. And as you can see here, of course, our founder proprietor Jack Messina, seen here in the picture, doing a punch down on a barrel fermentation. He purchased property in 1999. His family, actually his father immigrated from Sicily over to the East Coast. And so wine has been a big part of his family since he was young. And we are family owned and operated still. So his son, Josh Messina, the other Josh here, is also the manager of the winery, and very much involved in wearing many hats like all of us. And definitely both of them are very the drivers behind us improving our quality over the years. Especially, we made a huge push in the last say 5 years in the vineyard and the winery. And then again, I've been here since 2015. And in 2017, after the former winemaker moved back up to Napa, we brought in Eric Jensen of Booker Wines. If you're not familiar, it's a local winery here. And then Tony Biaggi, who many others are familiar with. I don't know if he was on a call recently, Ian, or not, but
it was a professional club with him, and he's an incredible guy.
Yeah, he's a character. He's a character. That's there's a lot.
I
to be
think
said.
gave
I
him
love that
credit
guy.
for Patria on the brand, but he was like the backbone of Duckhorn in the 1990s.
Yes.
He made
Yep.
Duckhorn.
Yep. Yeah, he's had his hands in a little bit of everything, which is amazing because he kind of filters down all these different techniques and ideas from all the things that he sees, and then we get to try them. And thankfully, our owners are okay with us experimenting quite a lot. So I get pretty much free reign of the cellar for the most part, with certain obvious limitations. So during this 2017 vintage, I did all the blending on that and all the day-to-day winemaking, and then was promoted pretty much right after harvest.
Good for you. Well, the wine's been great, man, and I'd love to break for a second and just kind of get some reaction, because we're 6 wines in. Everyone's feeling pretty good now, and maybe your teeth are changing color. But love to hear anybody's questions for Josh or comments about the wine. How's that chat box, Alicia?
Oh, David K has observations on the smell: peppered beef, jerky, Korean spices, and blue suits.
Blue suits. Yeah,
that's fruits, not suits.
Yes, I like blue suits. It's
like
classy.
that one went over my head.
Going classy. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think it's interesting finishing with the 2017, because we're 1 or 2. Let's see, we got some 19s here. No, yeah, 1 or 2 years older than the other wines that we've tried tonight. Early on in this wine's life, almost every vintage, it can be a little disjointed as far as aromatics. So, we tend to always bottle something that is balanced as far as tannin goes, and mouthfeel. But often the aromatics are leaning very heavily towards this kind of stone fruit, citrus, floral characteristic that the Viognier is certainly influencing. And then you've got the gamier black pepper characteristics that are sort of fighting, and they're not necessarily harmonious. But really it takes about 6 months to a year in bottle, and we start to see those things play nicely. And we start to get a little bit more of that cured meat characteristic, and a little bit more integration of the higher notes that to start playing a little bit nicer than that. So I'm really liking where this is showing tonight for sure.
Also, why the name Jersey Girl? And also, I think Jerry Michelle is asking, what is Graciano?
Well, that's a very good Graciano. I don't know why I don't know the full history of that. I believe it's a Spanish grape that's relatively related or closely related to Mourvedre.
Let's put somebody on the spot. Let's put somebody on the spot. We got a winemaker from Northern California, Carol Shelton, on the Zoom tonight. Can I put you on the spot, Carol? No, come on. You don't know about Graciano.
Graciano.
Go. You can text.
Graciano, if I may say, it's a grape that is used in Rioja blends very often.
Yes, that's true.
And in fact, Graciano tends to soften the Tempranillo that is the primary dominant in Riojas. So it's one of the grapes that's used in classic Rioja blends.
That is 100% correct, sir. And
Yep.
there's some really beautiful Graciano planted throughout California. I know a couple of Spanish producer or Spanish focused varietal producers, especially in Lodi. Maybe my favorite grape out of Lodi that I've seen besides Zinfandel is Graciano, and so it's pretty interesting in that way.
Yeah, Bodegas Paso Robles makes a really lovely Graciano and uses it for blending in her Spanish blends too. Dorothy Schuler.
Cool, didn't know that.
I believe too that the part of the naming issue might have stemmed from the I believe one of the other names for Graciano was, I think it's Moristel. Someone might be able to correct me on that. And so that might have been part of the. Oh, go ahead.
Monastrell.
Monastrell, is it
right?
Is Monastrell?
No, Monastrell is actually the Spanish name for Mourvedre.
Right, which is like, so the difference between another name for Graciano and another name for Mourvedre were closely knit enough to make the confusion in the nursery.
All right. Correct?
Or no?
Yeah, but Graciano is a different grape than Mourvedre altogether. Or
I think the thing that we're saying, like Graciano has no nickname. Like they say Morastrell, and right there are similarities in.
Yeah, I've read that there's Moristel. Yeah, I think it's Moristel or something like that.
You
So
got it.
yeah, and so that might be part of it. And who knows? It could have been like a clone that they were saying from one of the vineyards in somewhere in Spain that was cutting from there. And then there's the confusion with Monastrell Mourvedre. So I can see how that could have happened in the past.
So there are some similarities. I remember being visiting TH Terry Hogue Vineyards a couple of years back, and they said they thought they were planting Mourvedre when in fact it was Graciano they had planted, and then when they had to do a genetic analysis to actually determine that. So they're very close, but Monastrell is really. Mourvedre is a Spanish name for Mourvedre. A lot of people don't know that, like for example, the Grenache or Garnacha is actually a Spanish grape, as is Monastrell, as is Mourvedre.
Oh.
Well, just imagine ordering
Spanish grapes. The French
calling up the nursery and say, "Yeah, I'd like 300 Monastrell," and they're like, "Oh, sure," and they just sent you Monastrell.
Yeah, thanks Ian for that. And I mean, and so, I mean, I don't think that I'm talking out of class here, but Justin did DNA testing on it and determined that it was Graciano. Justin Smith. And so there was the whole article in Wine Spectator about it. That's it was kind of a big deal because so many people had planted it and were, surprised, and some were disappointed, some were not. But the performance of the grape, like you're saying, Josh, is people going like, I don't give a shit what it's called. It's a beautiful grape.
Exactly.
It performs well here, and let's keep kicking ass with it. So
right, as Jerry on the chat said, again, so there's happy accidents and there's some tragedies out there. We just have to learn and go with it. So you have to modify your winemaking and your mentality every single vintage, or you're done, really. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. So it's fascinating, this.
There was like an element of denial too, as like this Monastrell clone was around, and people were like, because Mourvedre is actually really challenging to farm in Paso Robles.
It's fucking impossible to farm, but I'm planting.
And so all of a sudden there's this clone of Mourvedre that retained acidity and got ripe and didn't shut down and like had vigor, all these things that Mourvedre isn't in Paso Robles, Graciano is. And there was just this, like, it literally was like the talk of the town. Hey, you're gonna get some of that Monastrell clone? Like it was like a big deal for a little while. And so it's kind of an interesting wrinkle in it too, that like it was very much embraced initially. And then to Mark's point and Josh's point, it's continued to be embraced as a very happy accident for sure.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Sonoma and El Dorado can be in on this conversation. Where are those guys? Because Paso Robles is way too vociferous right now.
We're like, just give us whatever. We don't care. We'll ferment it. We'll make it work.
Josh, I actually have 2 more comments. Pia M has been to the Jada Vineyard, and then also Jamie Rutt was asking, what's the sulfur on the nose?
The sulfur on the nose. It's probably not actually sulfur. So especially in 17, well, I mean, it could be. I'm not gonna say it's not. My guess is it's a combination of the alcohol and the pepper characteristics. I could see how that would come across as sort of kind of hydrogen sulfide-y maybe a little bit. It's also a little bit more earthy and it's a little bit older wine, so you're getting some of the more of those tertiary characteristics. So my guess is a combination of the characteristics and also maybe a little bit of minerality as well. So a little bit of everything is probably coming into play to give you that sort of high note nasally effect in there.
Could be that damn Graciano just popping up.
It's that Graciano coming back to play. I was to say, so since 17, we've been really trying to reduce our sulfur use in the winery. So it tends to be a lot of people will have kind of the regime as this is what we add at the ferment or at the destemmer, and throughout the wine's life, you add so much. So we've been really reducing that down to as little as we can. And usually just making sure we're okay before bottling. So that's the only reason I can say confidently that it's most likely not any sulfur characteristics, especially with the fact that it's a 17. It's been
sulfur tends to smell like rotten eggs. I don't get that at all, but I do.
Right.
I do think that we use a little bit of sulfur to protect the wine, and it often gets blamed for everything, but it's seldom to blame for anything. So if you abuse sulfur, then you got a problem. But
yeah.
But those wineries went away about 20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Well, Greg, can I check in with you again? And let's post. Send me something to post up here, and I'll throw it up, and we'll take a look at a Jada or something like that. Great, thank you, Greg. Perfect. It looks like you were working on that. So I'll throw that up real quick. But Greg and I have been working together for years. He felt me sending that mental signal. We've raised a lot of money for children's cancer research, Children's Hospitals benefactor. This is our auction link. Every winery that's participating has got a lot on the auction. And then there's the other experiential stuff and some travel, some entertainment, some sporting stuff. So take a look. As Tiger Woods driving lessons.
Oh no!
Too soon, bro. Too soon.
Music. He's all right, so I could say that. Music stuff. So.
Yeah, the auction's been going great. Tonight, it looks like we have a bidding war for RD, Nell, and Ledge. There seems to be a furious bidding war there. So,
any bidders?
Hey, Greg. Hey, yes. Greg. I want to add something to the auction lot. If someone will wake up Anthony Yount and tar and feather him before 7 a.m. tomorrow, then they get a full barrel of Denner Ditch Digger wine and a potato gun.
Great idea.
I was looking on Amazon to see what a potato gun looked like. They have like 20 different ones.
You have to make them by yourself, otherwise,
okay.
I think Ian can sketch one on the screen for everybody, and then it will just go away. So you gotta make sure you take a screenshot.
I'm a little pissed at Anthony Bale though, because he's the wittiest of all of us. Like he's always got all of the You know, he's the Matrix, you know. My wife's over here going, but he's got a baby. Fuck the baby. It's time to stop lying.
Yeah, I think he mentioned something that he had been drinking since 5 o'clock too. So,
yeah, but we're winemakers. I mean, like,
plus the baby should be in bed by this time.
That's right.
We've all
let's
been
wake him
drinking.
up. Who's got his phone number? Let's get it back on. Come on.
He lives on York Mountain, so that's a little difficult because you have to go where the West Side Dangler lurks and snatches babies. So,
I think you're close.
It's kind of a foggy and very densely Hobbit area over there. You saw the forest, you know. Josh was showing you all the forest over here on the Vineyard Drive. It gets even more dense and danker over in the Willow Creek. You know, like,
Feel bad.
I think you're closer, Mark. So sorry, buddy. You're gonna have to go.
I know, it's up to me. It's up to me. And we had a blast. All the wines were awesome. I do miss our friends from the north that haven't been chiming in. I see your beautiful faces, but I don't hear any beautiful chip chop.
Connor, if you want to throw down right now, you can. You can get in there.
Yeah.
You might need. You know, you never know when you need another job and come down to Paso. You got to kind of fit in with these guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a trip down there. Come explore that area one of these days.
Yeah,
we really love those the first two wines. It's so fun, you know. There are so many wines in Paso. It's such a huge region, and even within the Willow Creek, I mean, and then you go beyond the multiple AVAs here, and there's so much great wine, and we do tend to want to fraternize with each other. So we did want to make a mention that it was, you know, it was 2 outside areas and then 4 wines from Paso. And we're like, chirp, 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 potato gun, ha, ha, ha. You know, but I did want to make a mention that both of those wines were really awesome. And I wish you guys, next time, hopefully we can do it again. We can, you know, talk a little bit more.
Well, he mentioned something earlier that is kind of a connecting of the dots. He mentioned Philip Cambi having an influence on something they're doing over there. Philip Cambi is this legend out of Chateauneuf. He's been called things as aggressive as the Grenache god. He's that well known in these circles, and he spends time in Paso Robles as well as with Phil Couturi, who farms the Rossi Ranch. And excuse me. And I thought that was pretty cool. That connect. Excuse me. That connection.
Got a cough to get off, Tyler.
Yeah, I'll take it over. You know, Phil Cambi is quite a legendary figure, both physically and mentally. He knows how to carry his weight all the way across the United States. That guy is an amazingly beautiful man. So with that, I want to just show you a couple things we're working on. Boom. Learn About Wine is back, and our classes are now up. Our calendar's going to get rich. We're working every day on making it bigger, badder. This is going to be our battle station going forward. All of our Stars of Wine events are going to be posted here. So next month, we've got Napa Valley, and we've got 28 wineries from the Napa Valley. And it's we open it up with a flash sale. The prices are crazy. You could get a single night for $250, and just a little heads up that no night is worth less than $600 on retail. So you could buy the bottle set for $250, or you could get the 4-night bottle set. Or if you want to be a baller, we are looking for a 4-night sponsor. And we even come over and wash your glasses for you as if you're a sponsor. So come and check out the different nights. They're starting to appear on the website. Night 1 looking pretty good. Night 2 looking really good. Night 3 and night 4. This is over 2 weeks, by the way. We don't do 4 nights in a row because we know you guys have to go to work at some point. But we spread it out. We do Wednesday, Thursday, and night 1, or week 1, and then week 2 it's Friday, Saturday. And again, you could just do one at a time, or you could do them all. But amazing stories. All the winemakers are going to be on the Zoom, and by the time we're done, by the way, every night's going to have 7.
7 wineries. We just can't announce them all yet because they haven't signed the damn contract that they were supposed to sign by yesterday. But it's coming, and it's going to be up and live really, really soon. That'll be the Stars of Napa Valley, next month's big event. And we're looking forward to creating more for you guys, and we appreciate all the support. We had a huge audience tonight. It's getting a little bit late. Kids are pulling you off the Zoom, but we want to thank you for all the fun. We know actually that Erica had the most fun, and Clarissa, and that was part of the enjoyment, is watching you ladies. And Emily, thank you very much for all of that. And Aaron, were you were you involved in that chat box too? I think Aaron Dolan was as well. But really a fun crowd, and I appreciate you guys very much. We have one more night tomorrow, and it is also sold out, and we are very thankful for that. So great job, guys. Great job. We look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow night. Have a good night, everybody. And go and click on that link that we sent you earlier, or click on the auction, and check out all the offers from the wineries, and make an appointment with these guys to go up and see them. They all will take appointments, and they're all open for business. They all have wine to sell, and support these guys. They're even more fun live in person.
Hey, Ian, good job to you and your team. As Mark mentioned earlier, the packaging, like having we all pivoted like we have the last year, doing a few of these. Yours are the most organized, the flow the best. So you do a great job on these. So thank you for that.
That's
absolutely
so kind of you.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you, Ian.
Loved all the wines, and to all the crew, Ian. Thanks to all of you.
Well, we couldn't do it without any of you, and that includes the people that are watching the Zoom. If we didn't have an audience, we wouldn't have great winemakers. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing everybody very, very soon. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your wine. Cheer, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, this is for Tyler. I'm playing his song going out.
Bravo.